Ooh. Welcome to Tuesday, everybody. Who's here? We got Beetle. We got Sean. Heck. Sean up in here with Notification Squad. What is happening? You love to see it. All right. We're just not even gonna beat around the bush. I'll play this. My goodness, it should not be this much fun, this addictive to interior design. So, how's it going, everybody? How is your Tuesday? I forgot when I am, because it's been a day. I don't have much play with the Spotify play. Whew. All right. Okay, those are good to go. Oh, I know why I did this. Okay, we're here. Now we're gonna save our game. We're gonna go forward. I went backward today. Now we need to go forward today because the next day I have Celeste on my island, and I have been farming her for DIYs because I need a bunch of the Celeste DIYs still. Like, I need an obscene amount of them. I don't have them. Okay. Oh, go forward a day. We good. Unfortunately, this means that the daily NPC for this day switches. Because if you go past Sunday, then you're daily. And there was Gulliver there for a second. I was like, I need all of Gulliver's stuff. And it's a problem. Okay. Catching up on the recipes for Animal Crossing. There is a lot. And yeah, so I don't have turnips, so I can go back and it won't be a big deal. But I go back, I load into a new day, and then I go forward again. And then even though I've already loaded Monday, you will see that we will get Miss Isabel again. Like, we haven't played this day yet. We rolled back and we saw, oh, you have played this day. You leave Judy alone, Lionel. So I rolled back. Now I'm going forward again. Peeves is back. Hello, Peeves. How you doing? Just zoomed in on my eyeball. Hang on. There we go. Yes. Oh, no, now I'm on the 16th. Was on the 15th, now I'm on the 16th. Did I screw this up? I shouldn't have. Yeah, I was on the 15th and now I'm on the 16th. Yeah, I've been on the wrong Tuesday. Hang on, I wrote it down. Nope. What kind of electrician? Whoops. Got a flee off you shit. That's awesome. Joe is a residential electrician. So he specializes in actually gonna roll back 2 days. Yeah. Anyway, no. Leave my camera alone. Go away. Good night, Irene. Trying to remember what I was saying because now I'm all flustered. He's a residential electrician, so yeah, but he specializes in like custom homes and like fine finishing work and stuff because of who he works with. Oh, there is a cherry tart. Okay. And coconut milk, coconut pan. There is coconut recipes. Oh, yes, residential. So yeah, he's that's what he does. He enjoys it. He has a lot of fun. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like dealing with super picky customers and stuff because he'll have people come in and like try to change something like midway through. He's like, okay, now your bid just went up $2,000, so maybe stop. What is... Anyway, okay. I should not have gotten Isabel for that. That was kind of weird. Oh, there's a D thing. Okay. But we got, okay. Somebody let Lee know I got Hamlet. We're gonna go say hi to him and then we're gonna kick him off. Lee wants Hamlet and I happen to have his amiibo card. So we kicked Toby off. Here's Hamley's house. It's real cute. So we're gonna talk to him and we're gonna like hang out with him for a bit. We're gonna like give him a couple of things, nothing he's gonna put in his house and like ruin him. He will probably learn my phrases for my villagers, which is bad. Girl, hi Wiz, wait Chris. How's your Tuesday? I got Lee's hamster for her hanging out. He's the inside of his house. Oh man, Hamlet's a jock too, so we're gonna try and get the DIYs that I'm missing from jock villagers, or maybe we'll just move in a different jock after him. So, unless I don't know if I move out a villager with an amiibo, if Lee can come and grab him. You're getting a house. You're getting a house. You're getting a house. You're getting a house. It's very exciting, and you should be very excited about it because it's epic. So, you know. Yeah, tell everybody the news because it's heckin' exciting. I'm excited and very happy. You got oh, I could ask him how much that would normally cost. I know that it's hard to get your hands on electrical panels right now because of all of the shortages and stuff. So he said something like things are costing like upwards of like $600 and stuff. When like 2 months ago they were $150. So I don't know. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Went and died in Skull Caverns today in Stardew. Lost 64 stars. Oof. That actually like physically hurt. Actually physically hurt me. Oof. Big oofs. restarting without saving, that makes sense. That's what we got to do sometimes. Good lord. Hi, Octavian. Octavian is just so chill. Oh, as he runs up to me. Excuse you. I love cranky villagers. What? What? Want to visit Virginia? Oh my goodness, I have no idea. I have no idea if he could quote you a cheaper price than that. But that sucks. Yeah, it's hard to get your hands on stuff right. So I know he's having all of the issues trying to get his hands on stuff. He went to Wasilla to grab some light switches that are literally the only ones on the Pacific Northwest right now. Big news! Big news, big news, big news, big news. It's very exciting. So guys, it's getting a house. So we can plot trips to Arizona now. It's gonna be very exciting. Do it during the winter so that my Alaskan ass doesn't die of heat. Ooh, I'm so excited for you. Oh my goodness. It's so great. I love it. Oh, okay, there's all my pumpkins and stuff. So I'm finally gonna harvest all of this. What are you doing? You're just out on the beach talking to Judy, and now you are singing to her flowers outside her house? Sir. What are you doing? I'm gonna crank the volume on this man real quick. We're gonna expose him. That's eerie as hell. I'm just gonna let y'all know, she does not have a music player outside of her house. There's nothing out here that he's singing along to. I don't have anything hidden. There is nothing. There's nothing here. Is that Dirge? Is that KK Dirge? Y'all think I'm weird. Y'all think I'm just yelling at Lionel for nothing. You see this. This is why I post this ish on Twitter. When he does this ish, because I think this is the first time he's done something like this on stream. Like, now he's just being creepy. He's being creepy at Judy. I Whoa. Well, that was fast. filled up that car real quick. We haven't planted anything else though, is the thing. Like, we've planted this much and now we're just basically sticking with this much. Unless we want to make like a cute little secondary plot. Maybe we'll give Tia her own little garden plot for sprouting, like little, like, we'll give her the sugar cane so she can like make her own sugar in-house for her little speakeasy. Maybe that's a thing. I don't know. Got that one. He's still... She's turned off her... Do you see this? She is... No, I thought for a second she had turned off her lights. You know when that creepy neighbor comes by and you just like turn off the lights? I thought for a second she had, and I was gonna be real proud of herself. No, she's just sitting there like with the TV blasting, like pretending she doesn't hear it. Oh dear. Well. Okay, I'm gonna have to go dump all of this. And there's just Eric just being a little man, just like hanging out, doing his thing. Oh my goodness. Changed the exterior of my house just for kicks and giggles. I was like, I don't know, there's like new house exteriors. I'll give it a shot. I also redecorated. A lot of things. Oh no. I'm gonna have to sell. I have so many veggies. I just put them away. And I need to keep grinding all the things so I can get the next storage upgrade, which is 500. We'll get there. We'll get there eventually. Okay. Got this and Happy Home Designer. I mean, actually, very cute. Definitely using this for decorating later. Super excited about it. That's gonna go in the kitchen eventually. I don't know when. I think I need a second one of them. Something I can deal with later after I look at it in the conductor's jacket. We're gonna sell Paperboy Cap. Oh, actually, super cute. We're gonna run around with that on instead of the fedora today, because that's super cute. Like, I'm putting away. Nope, not what I wanted to do. Putting away the watering can. Okay. Help. Send. Just, did y'all? Oh dear. Oh dear. That's getting out of hand. Okay, we're gonna have to do other things to that here in a second. Oh boy. I still have a lot of flour and sugar and stuff, but that's gonna have to get taken care of. Are we gonna harvest more anyway? Yes, because at least if we process all that ish, it will get sold, and then I think sold at a higher price. So I actually need to look up the prices on that. I'm not sure if anybody's done that. My amazing, fantastic ACNA, like the app that I use as a companion app for this, they updated to 2.0 for the items, but they haven't done like the recipes and stuff. And it's really confusing. Mighty hard lately, Wessie. Oh, Dobie. And like, yeah, never underestimate. Okay. These are from my peeps. Okay. Cool. Nope, it's gone. I forgot what I was saying. Okay, apparently. Oh, I was talking about the ACNA Chapp. Have the Rory in here tonight, so Trying not to talk too loud, but he just rolled over and said, I love you in his adorable. Okay. He's still there. I went inside of a Let's just open a present from Dobie right in front of him. Tweed vest. What? Oh, hell yeah. Do you see her with this paperboy cap and that tweed vest? Excuse you? What do you... Oh. Just out here living our best British farm girl life. We are... This is everything. Holy buckets. That's cute. Just, I don't like him hanging out right outside of Judy's house. Or, sorry, Norma's house. Why did I keep saying Judy? No, he's outside of Norma's house. I do not appreciate that, sir. Creepily singing. Eric's got his eye on him, though. See, look at this. He's over there. He's got his eye on... Oh, knew it. That was gonna happen. As soon as I put away the other watering can, the watering can I grabbed was gonna break. I knew it. Okay. Rude. Rude as hell. There we go. There's the number 2. I sneeze twice. It's just... Okay. Alrighty. Nope. Okay. Fossils. We're doing fossils and plants. And then I think we're going to move to the next day so we can grab more DIYs from... Oh no! From Celeste. You know, we're always trying to go after those stargazing benches and those Nova lights, the ever coveted Nova lights, which are the essence of fairy core. Oh, why did you miss the ones on the end? You should not have missed them. That was so very weird. Okay, Lionel, will you leave Norma alone if I give you a bonfire outside, like a leaf fire or a bonfire outside your home? Will you leave the poor cow alone? Heavens to Murgatroyd. Okay. I have 6, so that means we are missing 2. Let's go check by Eric's place. Oh, okay. I keep forgetting to get my mushrooms up. And oh, was that okay? That was Nick Miles' thing. Fantastic. We need a lot for with like the new good stuff in the Nook Stop. We need a lot. Don't think I'm gonna be using all of it, but there's a lot of good stuff. Oh hell yeah, I got a truffle! I didn't pay attention fully to that particular reading of the article, but somebody wrote an article about all of the recipes you can get in the new update, and I'm really hoping that we get to use truffles in at least one of them, because that would be super cool. Be very happy with that. There's a bunch of mushroom ones. There's like a mushroom pizza, which like, oh, love mushroom pizza. I love it. Like mushroom bacon pizza, like that's my jam right there. Gimme. Sorry, owls. I feel bad. Anywho's. Oh. Just gonna yawn. So Beetle, are you gonna have to like? Oh goodness. Because I don't know. Is it a pressing fix your electrical panel, because that's stressful. I'm in the process of cleaning up my damn beaches. I have to move a bunch of stuff. Like I'm keeping 2 of each color flower and kind of flower, and then I'm yeeting the rest. And if I need to propagate, I will propagate. I am rage quitting on everything, and I just still need purple hyacinths for Riz. Ever since she got the update, it's so cute. Like, oh my gosh. The update is great. 10 out of 10 recommend the DLC. I know it's $25, which this is already kind of like a spendy game, but like, oh my God. I've gotten 700 hours of play out of this game, which I feel like I've gotten a lot out of that. Wait. We're checking nooks real quick. Everybody pausing. They had what they were calling a science chair. There is a sword. Yes, I am. I don't have that on me. Are we completely cash broke right now? Yes, we are. Are we going to spend money on a sword? You bet we are. Oh. Yeah, this game is it's super fun. And like the 2.0 stuff, like look at this. I got this from Steph. It's like now it's about Plaza. Look at how cute. Look at how cute. It just makes everything all so cute. Ah, help. Help me. Yes. Broke as hell. Still buying the sword. I'm just... Okay. This is idiocy. What I am doing right now is stupid. I don't care. It's gonna make that. I love it. It's okay. We're gonna go and sell all of the fruit over there. Not tonight, because that's fucking boring. Get this DIY from Celeste, and then first we're gonna buy a sword, get a DIY from Celeste, and then we're gonna move on. Yes, I am. Yes. Take my money. Excuse you, Marina. I'm sorry. You need a security camera? You're getting... Marina is now shopping for security cameras. I haven't seen Lionel over there, but I bet you she's talking with Norma. Her and Norma could do a book club by the seaside like all the time. I bet you they're talking. I was always outside my house like singing to my flowers, and Marina's like, fuck that, I'm getting a security camera. Ain't nobody got time for that. No. And that was me spending most of my money. Oh, I'm just really, really glad that in Happy Home Designer we get a different currency. It's Pokey. At this rate, I will have more Pokey than I will bells. And at this point, I think I have to be okay with that. I'm gonna roll that back just a tad. There we go. Logging back in. Help me. Help me. Sword. It's a pirate island. We needed the sword. Like, are you interested in a double-edged sword? Help me. Oh. Yeah, I need to get my kids past the points that they need to get past. I'm just like sitting down with them and be like, no, you have to like play this part. Like you have to go and pick your fruit and catch bugs. And like Marky hasn't even gotten to the museum yet. Like he's just like, whatever. I cleaned up his whole island and sold all his weeds and like picked all the fruit off of his trees and sold it. And sold all the stuff that he didn't want anymore. I was like, okay, do you want this? He's like, no, I was thinking about burying it. And then I actually found some other stuff that he did bury, and so I had to dig those up and got him a bunch of money, and he spent it all on the Mario stuff. And I'm like, you know what? you play this game. You should all should hear this right now. If she mentions shooting stars, Celeste is guaranteed. She gives us the tutorial that we already got. We are all good. Here we go. Narrative rewards based on their score. I don't know. Look at, whoa, hello. Well, that's quick. Hello, madam. Yes, I would. Okay. Thank you. I will take it. Yes. You too, my girl. Look at her with her bow. So damn cute. Oh, gotta empty our pockets. Oh no. Not a Nova lamp, but it's still fucking cool. Like, but for cereal dough. And they float. So, actually, I could make a bunch of these and we could just like, that could be fun. I've got a lot of rocks and I got a lot of star fragments. This could be fun. But neither of those things are anything that we are concerned with because we're gonna water our plants. Actually, should dump the pockets, water the plants, and then to Happy Home Designer. You know, 30 minutes into the stream. It's fine. Gonna keep the fossils in the pockets. Have to dump that off at the airport. Oh. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, we're just not even concerned with anything else. I do want to water because I have a weird thing. I don't like it when I don't get max crops. Hello, sir. So I'm trying to get those up to 3 each again. But that's a me problem. Okay, at least we have no Lionel tonight. I think oh, tomatoes still in my pockets. Definitely still gonna put a fire outside of house. Just let them know, like, if you need to do weird crap outside somebody's windows, do it out your own damn windows. Like, not that difficult. Sus. Ooh, zoning out. Resetting the Wi-Fi. I'm back. Oh, and there's the money tree. Except I have no bells in my pockets. So that's probably going to be not something that we're going to be super concerned with tonight. Just because, oof. When I actually get to, like, the content that I want to make, which is Happy Home Designer. Okay. Did it. Done. Let's go. Get what? Running into all the things, including Judy. Are you singing to a mushroom, madam? Okay, no, she's not. She's got a picnic basket. She's doing her own thing tonight. Whee! Uh-oh. That's bad news. Ooh. Time for takeoff. Last time we were on the beach with where like all of the people who are available for you to design homes for, we saw Lily the frog. She's really, really cute. So if she's still there, I think I'm gonna try and grab Lily and design her vacation home, whatever it is. I don't care. We're gonna try and do Lily. If she can, see if she's still there. Hang on real quick. Sorry about that. Just heard like this big ol' thunk happen outside. And I didn't see anything out there, but it was still very concerning. So, thank you for your patience. Sorry about that. Oh, okay. Actually, gonna pause that. Go. Okay, is Lily still here? She is. There she is. Okay. Goodness. Okay, gonna go clock in, I guess. Oh shoot. I guess I already. All right. Well. Way to work. Ta-da. Okay. I want to show you something. Look on top of the counter, spot something, anything new. That's an amiibo scanner. Oh no. Because we've got some baddies in the amiibo box. VIP clients who will entrust. What does the VIP thing mean? Does that mean my islanders? Is that what that means? Because I know eventually we can do that. Making Zucker the snack food paradise of his dreams. Hey, Lily, where are you? Come here. What do you want? There she is. Filled with nature's bounty. Hi. Yes, I do. Let's chat. She's cute. Look at her. Got a pineapple dress? Cute. Looks something like this. Okay, let's see. Oh. Okay. Okay. So... clearing. I mean, that works also. Not so calm. Lots of water. Ooh, surrounded by water on all sides. That's like... Oh, wait. No, wait, that's it. There we go, for Lily. Yes. All right, here we go. Whoa. There's a lot of butterflies. My goodness gracious. All right. Here we go. We're working on curb appeal first. Everybody look out. Okay. Gonna just... chew over here, because then we have all of this beautiful stuff to work with. Maybe? Okay. Thinking... Nope. Okay. Feels pretty good. Let's work on our house next. Give her something like big. That looks pretty good. Ooh. Hmm. Oh no. Okay, hang on. Siding. Natural woodwork. Okay, that looks cute. Wait. Wait. That's adorable. Oh! Way to match the door. Close. No, 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 no. Oops. Yeah. No, actually. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, gloss. Variations? Oh, there's variations. Hang on. Wait. I need this DIY. Yesterday? Excuse you? Pardon? We'll throw a couple of coconut trees in there. This should be fine. Should be fine. It's gonna do take up an awful lot of space. Oh, oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Okay. Thing about bushes, they can go on the edge of things, and so I am a fan. Just gonna throw these around. Make them look cute. If only it were this easy to design our islands. But really, I want it to be this easy. um, I mean, she is Lily, so nope. Oh, there we go. A little easier. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I love all of that. Okay. Outside furniture. What is this? There's a glowing stool. Dangerous. They gave me a lot of outside stuff. Outside stuff. Okay, hang on. We're gonna take a minute. Things set up. Oh, do you? Oh God. Can't. Okay. Don't like that though. Okay. Mm, stool there. Here. There we go. There we go. There we go. Good night. You're good. Sleep time. I am also like crazy focused on this. There we go. There we go. There we go. Good night, Sean. Thanks for coming and hanging. Okay. Maybe. Or do, you know what? The idea of doing a smaller campfire, because that's like two really big things right next to each other. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. That works a lot better. Duck. You can put stuff on the rock. That duck's not going anywhere. That's adorable. Buckets. Okay. Feeling good. Good about it. Just gonna light your fire. There she is. Yes. Okay. Not too shabby. Oh dear. Okay. This is actually the perfect place for... Oh, wait. Okay, I guess not. I didn't know I was going to have two rooms. Okay, we are going to pause it there because it is now... The bot's going to come in here really soon anyway, so we're just gonna call it. It is now bio break time, which means it's an hour in. We gotta stop for a second. We gotta get some snacks. We gotta get some drinks. We gotta go to the bathroom. We gotta make sure we get our wiggles out, and we're gonna be back here in 5 minutes, but it is a bio break. So go do the things. Go do some stretches. Go get some water. See you here in 5. We back. Here we are. Hope y'all got snacks. Because I got snacks. I'm very happy. Alright. This is very exciting. Gotta move this. Because this means walls in our houses. Whoop. Not just nappy. That's too high. That's too high. Not just nappy home designer. On our island too. Did I spend $25 on a DLC just to get the ability to put walls up? No. Maybe. No, it's definitely not. I didn't know I was going to have 2 rooms. The room was divided by original Paradise Planning partition wall. Yes, we can definitely get one for you, Lily, my dear. All right. Other, if you want to divvy up a room. Okay. After you place it, you can move it the same way as furniture. Try out a bunch of different stuff with it. Okay. All right, let's see. We already finished the yard. Let's open up our cute little boxes. Humidifier and the plant are over here. Stool is over here. All right. I'm gonna do the wall. Add to the other card. Wall can be used indoors. Wall mounted item cannot be. Wall mounted items cannot be hung from it. No. Don't like it. The infamous froggy chair, which yes, we will be using. Of course we will be using it. Did you sandwich Japanese style meal? Oh, it's so cute. Okay, sorry. I'm having what? Extravagant meal. Oh, okay. Ooh, okay. Good. I'm okay. Look at Lily. I'm tempted. I'm so tempted to bring Lily onto my island. She's so cute. She's so cute. No, Misty Garden. Look at that. That looks really mossy garden flooring. Oh, giving her sort of like rainy day vibes because she's good for all. Okay, other petition wall. There it is. Coo. Ah, okay. All right, then yeah, it is just a blank wall then, which is why, ma'am. Which is why you can't hang things from it, because you can't hang things from, but you can place things on furniture. That feels like a weird choice. Not be able to hang things on partition walls. I don't know. That feels like an odd to me. Did anybody ask me? No. Sets a 0. That feels like an odd choice. I don't know. Okay, let's get her a bed. First and foremost, get this place to rest her cute little head, which they don't give us for her preferred. Lily's easy. She's like, you know, whatever. Great. Okay. Ranch bed? We are not giving her the hay bed. That is just mean-spirited. Mean-spirited. No. Let's see if we can get her. Let's see here. Oh, she's a frog. No, we're gonna give her a green bed. Gingham. Okay. Let's see if Sable comes through for us. No. No. Oh, wait, though. Oh, that's cute. Except instead of the green, we go. Oh, there it is. This. Cute this shit is. This is. Yeah, and then okay. Hey, look. Oh, okay. Except I think I want her. Yeah, we want her here, there-ish, and then for a little bedside, yeah, bedside table of some kind. Does she bird one? Actually, yeah, that's cute. There's nothing really to put. It's small. It's a real small, but we can. I'm kind of thinking it could be really cute, like this. Here, oh, here we go. Here, like at the end of her bed. Very soothing music for bedtime. Excuse you. Okay, and then at the end of her bed, that's where we put like a closet area. Except like she doesn't have anything like a closet or anything. She's like, oh, whatever. That's actually good night, Beetle. Thank you for coming and hanging out. We just had like a little earthquake. Okay, we'll see. Room. Want a partition. Oh, there it is. There it is. She seems like a pastels girl, you know. I'm not personally. She won't move. Why won't she move out of the way? Move. Do that? Well, that feels weird. Feels like not the right place. Oh. I'm gonna throw in the Nordic low board. I'm gonna give her a little wood burning stove, a sink, stir. The deer scare in here again. Definitely that. Minestrone. No, we're gonna give her this one. Cactus, mothballs. Okay. Give her cute little... that. Work with this in a sec. She has to have the humidifier though. Maybe we'll ditch the moss ball. Humidifier. Yo, she also has to have this moss ball. Here's what I'm thinking. We'll do a froggy chair. This girl needs a dining table because she's got quite a bit of food. So I'm thinking give her like a nice little dining table and then give her like the food selection that she is looking for. She's my kind of girl. She's all about like, ready. Tea. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. But hang on, we can do better. Oh, that's not what I meant. Again, okay, I don't think we're not gonna go with the same pattern, but we will go with like dragonflies. Let's go. Oh, it's a green. She's wearing a cute little pineapple dress. Maybe we'll give her the variation on that pattern. That feels good. I'm about that. All right. Get out of here. Get out. Okay. Gonna give her the froggy chair. Or just all of them. Give her guess a stool. And okay. More food. And give her a pergola outside. A step. That was a miss. Oh, I don't think she's asking for it. No, she's not. Down meal. Oh wait, she already has the extravagant. We're gonna give her this one. Wait. Oh wait, I've got that upside down. Right? No. No. Oh shoot, which way does it go? Is it rice towards you or meat towards you? I gotta look this up. It's gonna bug me if I don't.
Think about your poop. Now, some people think about their.
I mean, sometimes, listen. Okay. It is the soup and the rice. Rice at your left side. Okay. So glad I checked. I was like, I'm pretty sure the rice is closest to you. Because, like, you're picking that up and you're using that as, like, something to help catch all of your sauce and drippings and stuff. It's like, it's very an efficient and interesting way to eat. And, traditionally... okay. So salted salmon comes with both of them. Except one has, I'm guessing has like cucumbers or something along those lines, and then the other one, I'm not I can't see what that is from here. And like, okay, there's a little more to the salted salmon on the other one. So there's that. All right, gonna move that. Okay, so now we've got with those two meals there, it's not gonna put the cactus. Okay, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Okay, gonna do some rug plates here. Ooh, 2x1, 3x2, 3x2. She wants like small. She wants small ones. 2x2. Oh, not what we wanted. Nah, that blends in too much. That blends in way too much with the flooring that we have. Let's. Oh. Okay. Corner table for cactus. Another mossy stool. See, look at her. She loves this. She loves this idea. Can't put the cactus on the stool. Everything. Don't like the bath stool. Is there another? Is there tea? Good here. And tray. Silver's good. Ooh, the purple's really nice. Let's give her a purple table. Little pop of purple in the middle of her room. There it is. There it is. Put her little cactus or terrarium. I like the terrarium better. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Yes. Yes. Give her another. Yeah, we'll give her another one of these. Oh, we can put a runner on it. Oh, the butterflies. Oh, the dots are pretty. No, we'll do leaves. We'll do like with leaves. Give her another duck. Definitely. Seaweed and pumpkin soup. Oops, too many. Seaweed and pumpkin soup on the runner board. She's got all these food items and I want to give them all to her. She needs all the food. There. Look at this. How cute. We can't hang things. Oh, that's something I need to keep in mind. We can't hang things on these wall partitions. So instead of there, I should put yeah, we should put this here. And then give that wall one of the Okay, we're gonna switch to walls. Flower garland. We're gonna do this. These, and of course the photo. Oh, there is variance. There is variance. Okay, orange, yellow. Ooh, the blue could be really good in here. Oh, that was the right choice. version of that. I'm gonna move that right. She doesn't have any art she wants? No, she really does. It's her photo and her poster, and that's about. Okay, let's move to the ceiling then. Glowing moss, glowing moss. Just so much glowing moss. We'll give her these. Okay. Here, light right over here. We'll do a right over that. Right there. No, there. There. There we go. There we go. There we go. Oh, not easy to hang these. Nope. Just kind of want to litter her whole ceiling with these because they're just. These are super cool. I hope they're super cool. Let's see. Ooh, yeah. I want to get something else though over there. This girl a couch. She didn't ask for a couch, but let's give her a couch. Simple. That's just the legs. Oh, jeez. Okay, we'll just do brown and then. Oh heavens. Oh, we'll give her purple accent couch. Feels wild. Purple accent couch. Oh. Which one is the required? That one. Okay. So we're gonna get we'll move the Monstera, replace it here, and then that. Okay. I'm liking this. A little better. A little I'm just trying to give her a little coffee table vibe. She doesn't ask for much, but I feel like a little TV area. No. Uh-oh. We should not be yawning. That is dangerous. Where is the TV? Oh, we're in the food here. Oh, okay, hang on. Oh. There it is. 20 inches, 50 inches. Oh, give that girl the 50. What are we even contemplating here? And there's customization. Here we go. Red. No, we're gonna get rid of the basic. She got this at Costco because she wanted it, and like it was on sale close-ish to Black Friday, and so she was like, you know what? There. You know what? I'm actually quite pleased with that. That looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm thinking it's probably our only client of the night. We got our wall partitions. It's ready. Now we get to do the fun part, which is the montage, obviously. Oh dear. Oh dear. I didn't even eat my snacks. I was so focused on that design, did not eat any of my snacks. What are you doing behind the couch? Okay, that's cute. Okay. The featured item, you know. The purple accents with the wisteria blossoms in the wallpaper. It all ties the room together. Are you sure about that? I will totally take pictures for you, girl. Okay, this is the part that takes the least amount of time. Let's get her in something she actually wants to be in. Like, she's in the tropical mood. She looks really cute. But at the same time, what if she just wants to be in her PJs? No, we'll give her the cute little froggy outfit. I didn't do the plus button, which means I didn't save. She knows how to play this game. Me, on the other hand, we're gonna change all that. Yes, love it. Whoops. Okay. We're gonna move her. Okay. Oh, we can do that from here. Interesting. Put her in that froggy chair. Bedtime salmon. Why am I not rotating? Maybe we'll play it like that. We'll play it like that, and look at her just vibing with her oh. There it is. Yes, we'll do that. Whoa! Look at this food! Oh, she gets down. Look at her. She's so cute. She's like, I'm done with food now. Well, looks around. A purple couch? Me? Couch? Okay, I hope she's like, what's on your mind? I'm gonna go. Bye-bye. Totally chat sometime soon. Don't worry about it. Ooh. You pull out your phone. Please give me the wall partitions. I definitely will be. Oh, that's actually really cute. I'm just like trying to figure out. Oh wait, no. I hit the wrong button. Oh no, I need to go. Alright. Let's hit the save button. Start the game, begin from home. No worries. So we are going to save and end because I'm actually legitimately very, very tired. So I think we're going to end stream today. We got wall partitions, which feels pretty big in Animal Crossing. But I gotta go to bed. I'm actually very tired. So I'm going to go head to bed. You all, I hope, have an amazing night. I'm going to go to bed. You should also go to bed. Probably. I don't know. Live your life. I'll see you another time. Well, tomorrow. Dreams Capital. Night.
The best of it.